Hello. This is the next game I've been wanting to play, Vernal Edge. Not because it's a favorite game of mine or anything, I just think it's interesting enough, and I have a bunch of stuff to say. I've written down bullet points. But for once, my preamble is not going to be on the title screen of a game, because there's a point pretty early on in the game, actually right at the start, where I'll have plenty of time to go through everything. But I'll start a new game on this file. You can see that I've beaten the game twice before. Yes, I will overwrite. And I will be playing on Vicious. I guess I could read all of these. More laid-back adventure. Standard difficulty. Familiar with action games. More challenging journey. I played on hard. I've never touched normal or easy. I tend to push myself that way. The way I sort of think about it is, if a game starts falling apart on the higher difficulty, that's not my fault, that's the game's fault, and I want to know if that happens. I don't think that was the case here, but that's how I... Like, ideally, a good game should be more enjoyable for people like me on higher difficulties. Vicious is not available for a first playthrough. You have to beat the game once to unlock it. Maybe on hard? I'm not sure. Again, since I haven't touched normal or easy. For the most skilled to test their mettle once again, unlocked after completing the game once. Yeah. Guess I got ahead of myself there. After the intro, I'll start with my ramblings. A stowaway, huh? Drop your weapon and we won't be forced to do this the hard way. The hard way? I won't even break a sweat. Stop this pathetic display. Surrender yourself now, and maybe we won't have you executed. Giving up already? I'm just getting started. Captain, we've hit a massive storm. What? Crew, brace yourselves. Here it comes. A storm? What? Are you afraid of a little... Even when playing the game for the first time... Oh wait, there's a little bit more. Well, that could have gotten better. It's like I'm stuck until I find another ship. Do you have a lot of questions? Because I certainly did. Who is this person we're playing as? What was she doing up there? Oh, by the way, this game does have voice acting, which is kind of neat. And I'm kind of going to ignore these tutorial messages and just explain everything myself later. But you can pause to read them just in case I forget. The red bar is my life, which I guess should be evident by the fact that it was almost empty after that intro scene. I kind of like when games do that. I don't think tutorializing how the player heals should necessarily be a thing, but if you're gonna do it, might as well give an in-universe reason why the player character is hurt and needs to heal. Yeah, hitting enemies builds up the white circular meter, which is pulse. And there is a pulse button that throws this projectile and marks an enemy. And while the enemy is marked, you can hold a direction and press the button again to do a special move. Like that was on the ground, holding down and pressing the pulse button. Once you run out of meter, the I guess it's a form of lock-on, the pulse, which I think is neat actually. You have to hit an enemy with a projectile to lock on. It makes it a bit easier to lock on to what you want to, although it does have maybe a few issues sometimes, but I'll explain that if it happens. So you might be noticing that this training dummy is losing a life. I noticed that too on my first playthrough, and I was curious what would happen if I depleted it. So as I continue to mess around with this... Oh yeah, the down grounded pulse attack spends a lot of pulse. You want to use it when you're very low, because your pulse won't go into the negatives or anything. So it's just not worth it to use something so expensive with a full meter. It just wastes too much meter. If you're in the air and you hold the direction towards the enemy you're locked onto, you do that, which is kind of cool. I think it goes any distance, but you're still vulnerable while you're doing it, so you better hope that there isn't anything hazardous between you and the target whenever you do that. If you hold up, you do that, which is kind of an AoE attack. It can hit enemies close to the locked on target as well. What else was there? Oh yeah, in the air and down is another one. It drops swords and it has you diagonally lunge downwards, hitting multiple enemies. If you hold away from the locked on target and press pulse, you bring the target to you, which is kind of cool. So you can do stuff like that. I guess it's a good time to say this game lists its main inspirations as Devil May Cry, Kingdom Hearts, and Metroid? Which is kind of weird, and as a whole I'm not sure if that's a good combination. I think this is mostly just a side-scrolling 2D Devil May Cry, personally, with a little bit of platforming and some non-linearity, but it's just an action game, pretty much. That's what you do in the vast majority of it. Don't exactly see the Kingdom Hearts or the Metroid for the most part. Anyway, I think it's good to mention how I found out about this game. I'm in a few different Discord servers. I barely ever pay attention to them now, but occasionally something neat pops up. And a developer who was involved with another indie game I might play someday that I like much more than this, quite frankly, goes by the name Dream Kazoo. Apparently worked on this game as well, which is the whole reason I learned about it and gave it a chance, because I liked that other game. I think Dream Kazoo is an artist, if I remember correctly. Might have drawn some of the cutscene art or something like that. Apologies if I got that wrong. Okay, I keep trying to do something that I can't, so I guess I'll show this off now. From the menu, if you go to Spell, you start the game with Barrage, but it's not equipped. You can have up to 4 spells. So this is neutral, this is while holding up, this is while holding left or right, and this is while holding down. I think it's intuitive for me for Barrage to be on the horizontal directions, because it does that. You can see there's a blue mana meter there. It's kind of weird though. You might wonder, how do you recover mana? Well, when it's depleted it regenerates over time. So basically the spell system is a glorified cooldown system. There's no reason not to spend it whenever possible, just to make sure you're getting as much mileage out of your spell use as you can. And much like Pulse, it doesn't go into the negatives, so when you have little to no mana, you should use something really expensive, because it's basically gonna be almost free. Oh, and you also have hold commands. That's what this circle indicates. I'm holding the attack button. And if I just let go of it, it's that charged kick. You'll see what that does later. The game tutorializes it. But if I let go of the charge while holding left or right, it does that instead. I guess I'll end it like this. Okay, this thing is beefier than I remember. You Killed George? How? Why? Please just move on. I promise there's more to do than this. I forget if I actually needed to do that again because I didn't get a pop-up for, Yeah, this is what you get for killing that trading dummy. Pacifist curse. Halves damage done to enemies. You probably don't want this. This is where you're wrong, game. On my first playthrough, I decided to equip this just to see what it would be like. I quickly forgot that I had it equipped and it didn't bother me for an entire playthrough. And now, retroactively, not having Pacifist Curse equipped makes it feel like enemies die way too fast. There is a risk that it makes the game kind of tedious, but I'm gonna do this. So yeah, that's why I needed to kill that trading dummy. I will actually say a lot of very critical things about this game, but I do think it's somewhat underrated. Like, this combat is... I mean, it's not as good as its inspirations, I would say, but it's not terrible either. It has some merit to it. And I think this will be a good jumping off point for much better action games in the future, which I promise I will play. Oh, and another thing from I've been looking at my bullet points so far. There's a taunt in this game. That's what it is. Don't use it. As far as I'm aware, it's useless. Doesn't do anything, which is kind of a... Like, I don't know how you can play Devil May Cry and not put a taunt in your game and not realize that the taunt is supposed to do something useful. Eventually there's a reason to taunt, but until then, just forget about the taunt in this game. And yeah, there's some platforming, which I do find enjoyable enough. Some sequence breaking is also possible. There's secrets like this. There's a pretty nice balance of currency in this game because you can't really redo fights. Actually, you can't redo fights at all. There are a few respawning enemies here and there that you can kill for money, which I don't really understand why those enemies exist. Because the game has a nice balance where if you do every single close combat encounter once, you have enough money to buy everything. That's a shortcut, not that I guess that shortcut is useful if you miss that secret back there, but even still. So about this charge attack, you can actually do it in the air, and it's a means of doing a little bit of sequence breaking. Those are hard pieces. I don't need to explain what they do. I hope. Save points restore your HP, mana, and half your pulse. I understand why they mess with the pulse. I guess it's so you don't feel the need to farm pulse off of enemies before you end a fight. But it only restores half so that you still have a reason to build up pulse going into a fight, I would assume. Now, if I remember correctly, yeah, both of these ways are gated off. This by electricity and this via... Looks like it needs a key. So, yeah. Alright, there's one thing I forgot to show off in the menu here. There's an item inventory. There are actually a few things in here that give you a little bit of insight that you might miss. The coat that Mom left me. It's a little bit big, but the belt fixes that. Brown gloves. They keep my hands warm. A letter from my mom. I can't read it. I believe that changes at some point. But yeah, it doesn't really tell us much about Vernal. No, it doesn't. Oh, maybe I spoke too soon. Whatever. You'll know that her name is Vernal soon enough. Whoops. I think this game's story is kind of weak. It has its moments. There are a few parts I appreciated. And there is more voice acting later, which caught me by surprise. But the precedent is set here. Oh, right. That's not the right button. Yeah, you can block, but you have to be facing the thing that hits you. Like, imagine when I'm 180 degrees from straight down to straight up in the direction you're facing. That's how much you can block. So anything coming in from the other 180 degrees will not be blocked. Don't know why I'm holding in charge there. There's that key. And here's the first major difference on vicious difficulty. Normally there's only one of these guys. This is also the first enemy that has, I think it's called poise in this game because From Software, I guess. Personally, I'd call it super armor. Although I don't know that much about fighting games, I do think that's what it would be called when an enemy can't even flinch from getting hit. As this tutorial says, I can block and then counter to instantly do a move that can break their poise. Yeah, that's the main difference with vicious difficulty, is it changes enemy composition across the entire game. And it's nice that you see it within the very tutorial. Like, you could actually die there if you're not careful. Yeah, those guys have two attacks. Close to the ground attack and a sort of a overhead thing that could knock you out of the air the way it did me there. Now that I have the key, I can go up here. This key fits. You can block the lunging attack of these flying guys as well. This red guy does a laser. I don't think he normally shows up here. Gotta say, this is one of those games where you'll be used to having certain abilities. Starting a new playthrough feels weird because of that. At least I feel that way right now. Oh, good. I thought I'd get knocked out of that move, but I actually managed to stagger these flying enemies because they have no poise. So any damage just... I guess I can explain this... Well, actually the game's gonna mention it in a bit. Yeah, never mind. Not the biggest fan of how poise works in this game. And since it lists Devil May Cry as an inspiration, I can't help but think that it just misunderstood why it works that way in DMC and made a variation of it that's actually worse, but we'll get to that. So this is a new ability. It's kind of interesting that she gets impaled by a bunch of swords to get new powers, but I don't, even now after beating the game twice, I don't know if there's any significance to it. Yeah, major memories, you'll see them in here. Notice Pacifist Curse has a different icon. It has a +0 below the memory points. Most memories take up memory points. Pacifist Curse is the only thing in the game that doesn't. And dash is a major memory. It doesn't take up any points, but you can disable it. You could disable upgrades in the newer Metroid games, right? I think it's supposed to be a lot like that, but I've never felt the need to do that. Maybe there are a few abilities you wouldn't necessarily want. But yeah, now that I have this air dash, I can combine it with the the charge attack, the horizontal directional charge attack in midair. So you can already see how some more intense sequence breaking could be done. And that's just another spell. I think I like Flame Spiral on up. That's what it does. Don't know why it's called Flame Spiral, it's just a bunch of balls. But fair enough. And now for probably one of the worst enemies in the game, I'm gonna say. Pretty sure this guy doesn't show up here on lower difficulties either. He's beefy, he has high poise, and I really don't like him. He does that thing some enemies do in 2D games where he'll flip his sprite mid-attack, so if you get behind him it's actually useless, because he'll just hit you anyway. Really don't like that. And different enemies have a different amount of stun time when you break their poise. It lasts longer if you're hitting them, and if they're in the air, and those two things stack. But this environment with these stupid fireballs make it really hard to do anything good against this guy, I find. I kinda just want to hit him until he dies. Combos feel a little impractical against him, unfortunately. Oh, and that's another thing he does. His combo has two different last hits. One of them is an overhead that's unblockable. The other is this forward lunging attack that I just hate it. It covers so much ground. If he's on a platform like this, he goes diagonally down the way you saw. And for whatever reason, that attack can kill me in 2 hits at this point in the game. And it always does massive damage, no matter how much I increase my life. I did pick up the life piece, as I said. And there are also mana pieces, although I think they don't really do much. In fact, mana pieces might be bad if I understand correctly, because I think it takes longer for the full meter to recharge the more max mana you have. Maybe a bit of a flaw in how mana works. Yeah, we loop back around here because now I can go through there, and that's kind of all there is to it. This level is quite linear. Oh, good morning. Checking memory. What? Forgive me, I must have 17 corrupted regions detected. Oh my, that's no good. What are you talking about? I'm truly sorry. Allow me to introduce myself. I'm Chervil, a scientist specializing in extra-dimensional magical research, working under Asphodel. Or at least I was, until... Asphodel? You work for him? Tell me where he is, or I'll beat it out of you. I don't know, but if I did, I'd have some words, and I don't work for him. Not anymore. Not after what he did to us. Ugh, waste of time. Wait, excuse me, but what is your business with him? He's my father. I'm going to kill him. This... This sums up her character, unfortunately. I don't think... Like, she's on a quest for revenge, yeah, but... I don't think she ever really shows anything besides rage. So I'm afraid I'm not the biggest fan of our protagonist. And that blade, it's his, isn't it? It's hazy, but I seem to recall it somewhat. Yeah, I recognize this symbol engraved in the blade. His family crest. That must be how you know he's here. What's with all the questions? Stop being so nosy or I'll change my mind about not kicking your ass. I know, I'm sorry. I'm very sorry. But please take me with you. I need to see him one more time. He betrayed me and my friends, and I know he's planning something terrible. I just, for once, I want to tell him off. You're insane if you think I'm dragging you around all these damn islands. But I can help. Despite my memory loss, I know how to get around here. And I can pilot airships. I do need a pilot. Crap. Fine, but don't expect me to wait for you or anything. That's quite alright. I need to collect some thoughts before I leave anyway. I'll catch up. Thank you. Like, technically I'm learning something about what's going on, but it's still not enough. I still have so many questions. And, you know, I'm speaking as if, you know, based on what we've seen so far, but even by the end of the game, I had questions. Hold square and release to perform a charge attack. Charge attacks reduce enemy poise. When an enemy has no poise left, they become stunned. So I just want to show you that the basic 4-hit combo, which is 1, 2, 3, 3 hits twice, 4. Notice how it does no poise damage, nor does the launcher, nor does the helm breaker, or there's also the slide attack if you hold down and press attack. What else could I try? Some pulse attacks do deal poise damage, and I guess I could show that. This doesn't. This doesn't. Holding away from the enemy does. The arbitrary nature of what does poise damage and what doesn't makes me kind of hate this system when compared to something like Devil May Cry. Because it sort of forces you to use these charge attacks, which, if I understand correctly... Let me just try and... Yeah, you can cancel non-charged attacks into other actions, but charge attacks require you to commit. I actually haven't tested all of the animations and what you can cancel out of, but charge attacks are definitely relatively slow and high commitment. And you're practically forced to use them if you want to stun an enemy and to be able to do combos, and that kind of sucks. I mentioned that guy who can two-shot you. Yeah, it's a good thing I was being so cautious, and I wasn't just trying to break his poise as quick as possible, or else, yeah, I'd be dead in no time flat. Also, you might have noticed that when I got hit, there was a prompt to press X above my head. When you're in a knocked down state after taking damage, you can't get hurt until you press X to get back up, which I think is a Kingdom Hearts thing, but I don't know. I don't think it really does much. It just makes getting hit a bit more annoying. So anyway, the reason I didn't go to the right at the start here is because it loops back around. And also after killing the dummy, the message box covers up this item, and I didn't want that to get in the way. But yeah, you can grab this now. You only need 2 mana pieces to increase your mana bar. I will be fully completing this game, because why the heck not? And now, for yet another tough fight. Definitely the hardest fight in this area. Oh yeah, launching enemies, or knocking enemies into other enemies does 1 poise damage as well. Which is kind of neat. Enemies also bounce off walls when you knock them back. I don't know how that block worked, but I'm not complaining. Flame Spiral is nice for juggling enemies, at least. Oh yeah, you can't block in the air. I don't know why, but you can. Okay, see how I can juggle an enemy off a wall like that? That is fun. Now notice something. These guys have stun meters and poise. That's because each enemy has a different amount of poison each combat encounter, which is something I really don't like. Especially when you're familiar with an enemy like this and you just want to start comboing it immediately, but then you realize after hitting it that it has poise, because the poise is invisible until you hit an enemy to reveal the HUD above it. Oh, and this enemy, this is a very notable change on Vicious difficulty. This is a very late game enemy. I forget where exactly it shows up, but yeah, it's not supposed to be here normally. Oh, I forgot to mention, pulse attacks heal you. What was that? Oh, right. I did know what all these symbols mean for this enemy, but it escapes me now. He has very high poise. I think that large bubble is 5, 2, 3, 4, yeah. 5. And of course, because of Pacifist curse, he'd be dead already if I didn't handicap myself like that. Oh no. No, get back here. Good. His first ability there was to heal himself. You really want to interrupt that by stunning him. That's another good point, actually. It's very unclear what these enemies are supposed to be at this point in the game. I think it only becomes obvious near the end. The purple icon there, I don't know how to deal with that, so I'm glad I managed to stun him. I think it forces you to block or dash, I'm not sure. It's kind of messed up. I'm sure I'll figure it out later. It's just been a while since I played the game. I do recall knowing how to deal with that, and that it seemed unavoidable until I understood it. But yeah. I guess that's all I have to say for the time being. Hey, we're taking this ship. Taking? As in stealing it? Oh my. Of course we're stealing it. Do I look like I own an airship? I'd better leave a note. I'm sorry. Who is this? Travel to this island is strictly regulated. Shell, explain yourself in the next 5 seconds, or I'll decommission you right here. Do you know her? I don't recall. And you, where did you get that sword? Hand it over, now. How about you come and take it? Are you seriously threatening me? You have no idea who you're dealing with, do you? Fine then. I'll take it back myself after I've killed you. I do think the music here is... This game's soundtrack is not amazing or anything, but I did notice some leitmotifs, and there are at least a couple of tracks I like. I'll try to point them out. Yeah, there's a motif in this one that comes back later. I know that much. Oh my. And this music as well. You can miss all of this. It's funny. The game starts with no explanation, and then at this point there's too much happening, and we don't know enough about any of these characters, pretty much. Oh, I forgot how weird her name is. Alstroemiria. Yeah. Leave this island immediately and come see me. What? But this woman has the pulse edge, and this shell... Trust me, I understand the situation perfectly. You need to come home immediately. You, what's your name? Vernal. Vernal. I'll finish this later. Coward! Get back here. Instant unassisted unreality travel? How on earth did she do that? Why is she taking orders from some stupid ghost? Ghost? Oh, that was a telecom. I forget they don't have them on the surface. And that ghost was a projected image of Asphodel. What? She's with him? I thought you would have recognized him. Here. Take this spare telecom. We can communicate at a distance with this, so you don't have to wait for me to catch up. Alright, let's get off this rock. Yeah, so many questions like, what is the significance of the pulse edge? Is it a MacGuffin? What do you mean the surface? I guess the surface will make sense once we get on board this ship, but I'm going to end this part here. And what is unreality? Why is it... who was that woman? Why is it impressive that she can travel through unreality, whatever that means? They sure drop a lot on you. Unassisted unreality travel. Sounds like technobabble, doesn't it? It kind of is. Like, I know what unreality is since I've beaten the game, but... it still seems like such a pointless thing to just say at that moment. So yeah, I'll see how this goes. I think I'll break it up into... this is the end of this island, right? So I think I'll try to do maybe one island per video or something like that. Then there'll be like a... near the end of the game, some kind of cleanup part where I collect everything I've missed, and then the finale. But yeah, as always, there will be a link to the game I'm playing in the description of each video, if you want to try it. And thank you for watching.